All right, going to talk about Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders. Talk about keys for success for Sanders against the best defense in the Big 12, the Utah Utes. The Utah's number one defense in yards per game, number one defense in points per game, and number two defense in passing yards per game. Right. So we're going to talk about Utah. We're going to talk about Shedeur and look at some film. Maybe show 4 or 5 clips that hopefully do a good job demonstrating the type of plays that he's going to have to make. And there's 3 main keys for Shedeur. But before we talk about those keys, let's talk a little bit more about Utah's defense, because Utah's defense is getting no help. If Utah had an average offense, they're probably still competing for a title throughout the Big 12. But instead of that, I think they've lost the past 5 games, but they've still been close. Their past 4 games, this is the point differential: 8, 6, 3, and 1. Right. So these are the last 4 losses. So the defense has done its job. The offenses can't seem to help them out. So the main theme when watching Utah's defense is they don't create a ton of havoc. They just do their job really, really well. They only have 16 sacks in the season. That's towards the bottom in the Big 12. They only have 8 interceptions. That's middle of the pack in the Big 12. So they have caused some turnovers, but it hasn't been a big part of their game. They just don't make mistakes. They limit the big explosive plays. They have not given up, I think, more than 27 points in one game, if I'm not mistaken. Really stout, really smart defense. And the one thing that they have changed as of late is they've started blitzing a lot more. Last week against BYU, they blitzed 63% of the BYU's quarterbacks dropbacks. The weekend before that against U of H, they blitzed 75-ish%. Up until U of H, the most they've blitzed in Big 12 play was 44% at Oklahoma State. Against Baylor, it was 38%. And Arizona and Arizona State was in the 20s. So they've started changing their defense a bit. Now, that might have been because of the teams they're playing. So we'll wait to see what they do against Shedeur. But go ahead and talk about Shedeur, and then we'll dive into some of the film. Three keys, 3 points for me for Shedeur. Number one, I want it to be an extension of what we saw last week against Texas Tech as it relates to attacking the defense through screens. That was a whole different type of way to beat a team we saw last week, that we haven't seen much of Colorado do. So I want to continue to attack screens. I think Shedeur's out of his 30-ish completions, I think 15 of those completions were behind the line of scrimmage. Point number 2, kind of the opposite here, but I want to challenge them vertically. Utah hasn't been challenged vertically the whole season. Who's the best offense they've played this season so far? Arizona State, maybe? When they played Baylor, that was before Sir Robertson was the starting quarterback. So they haven't faced an offense like they're about to face versus Colorado. So yes, point 1, I do want to attack them through the screens. I think you can set up some plays. Then point 2 is kind of the opposite of the screens. I want to challenge them vertically. I want to attack vertically. I want to try to get up early. I think you're a 10-point favorite as of the recording of this video. I want to challenge them and get up early and just finish them. I don't want this game to be close at all. Again, all their losses have been close. Even their Arizona loss, their first loss, was 13 points. That's the most they've lost by. So all their losses have been close. If I'm Colorado, I want to get up early. Key number 3, last key, be prepared against the blitz. We talked about how much they've been blitzing as of late, and look, they could change. These guys are way smarter than some YouTube guy could ever be, but be prepared against the blitz. Shedeur has 6 interceptions so far this season. He's been blitzed 28% of his dropbacks. So the majority of the time he's throwing whenever guys are dropping 7 or 8, which is usually tougher on the quarterback. And he's been one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in college football, when defenses are dropping 7 or 8. But half of his interceptions have come off the blitz, even though there haven't been that many dropbacks against the blitz compared to guys dropping 7 or 8, right? When they drop 7 or 8, he murders teams. So if I'm Utah, if there's one weakness, and this isn't a weakness, Shedeur's good against the blitz too. He just happens to be, according to PFF, that much better when they drop 7 or 8. So if I'm Utah, I want to try to do something. I want to try to confuse the quarterback in Colorado. So blitzing may be key, right? So main keys: attack with screens. And then I want to challenge vertically. I know those are 2 opposite things, but I think they can play well with each other. 2 different schemes can kind of go in one with each other, because I don't think they've been challenged vertically. And then key number 3, be prepared against the blitz if they do continue to blitz heavy like they've done the past few games. So, okay, a lot of talking. That was a little more than 2 minutes. I apologize. Let's go ahead and look at this film. We got like 4 or 5 clips that we're going to watch of Shedeur showing the type of plays, the type of throws I think he needs to make in order to beat Utah. So let's go ahead and check out the film. 6 clips that we're going to watch of Shedeur. We got 2 deep throws, 2 throws against the blitz, and 2 different types of screens. So first clip we're going to watch, it's Shedeur throwing the ball deep to, of course, Travis Hunter. This is against Baylor. This is a more middle of the field type deep ball here. Baylor's only bringing 4. They drop 7 here. And this deep ball eventually led to a touchdown later on the drive from Shedeur. But this is point number one. I want to try to challenge Utah vertically. I want to do it early. Again, I want to get out ahead. Let me move myself. I want to get out ahead early. I don't want Utah to even think they have a chance in the game. Now, their defense is stout. Their defense, more likely than not, is going to keep them in the game. But I want to at least try to get out early. And if you throw a pick, I'm not afraid of Utah's offense to score. So you throw a pick, bounce back, just like you did against UCF early in the game, right? Remember that? Shedeur throws a pick early, bounces back, had one of my favorite games of the season so far. All right, next clip, we're going to watch Shedeur. So we saw Shedeur throwing deep down the middle of the field. Here's Shedeur throwing deep for a touchdown pass to Travis Hunter from the left hash to the right side of the field. This was early in the season against Colorado State. Again, another deep ball. So point number one for Shedeur, deep throws like this. You didn't have any last week against Texas Tech, and maybe you don't have any this week. Maybe you don't need it this week, right? This is just my opinion. Against Tech, you had 0 completions where the ball was thrown 20 yards or more in the air. So maybe you don't need to do that this week, depending on what type of coverage that they give you, right? But I would like to see them challenge them vertically. All right, point number 3, which we talked about. I'm showing the screens last because screens are kind of boring. But point number 3, the third point, be good against the blitz. Now, we talked about Shedeur is good against the blitz. Shedeur is good against the blitz, really good. 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions against the blitz. His yards per attempt actually higher against the blitz than they are whenever they drop 7 or 8. He's just elite, like elite. Whenever the defense has dropped 7 or 8, and he's able to just read the defense so well, process information, and have success, right? But I want to be prepared for the blitz. We talked about Utah and how much they've blitzed the past 2 games. Now, maybe they change that, but here is Shedeur against the blitz. They bring 5. He's able to maneuver in the pocket just enough before he gets hit and throws it to Wester down the middle of the field. Again, Shedeur very good against the blitz. He's great against the blitz and great against 7 or 8, right? Now, if you're Utah, how are you going to try to confuse Shedeur? Maybe you try blitzing. Maybe you drop 7 or 8. I don't know. Again, Utah could maybe not blitz nearly as much as they have the past few games. But if we're going off the past 2 games, they have been blitzing a lot more. Here's Shedeur against UCF. Little fake play action here. You can tell it's a pass, play action, good passing protection. They blitz in here. And then Shedeur's able to throw a touchdown to Hunter on the little bang route, the little skinny post, a little 8 route there. Again, blitz here. Be prepared for the blitz, and if they don't blitz a lot, well, you're already probably the best quarterback in college football, and especially whenever defenses drop 7 or 8, so you'll be fine in that regard. Last point, last key, which was actually the first key we talked about in the opening video: attack through the screens. I want to be an extension of Texas Tech, the game that we're watching. So there were 2 different types of screens that that Colorado used against Tech this past weekend, and that was this little swing screen here. Now, this was probably an RPO with the offensive lineman running downfield. We talked about this in the breakdown. That was probably some type of RPO. He probably had the option because you can see the receiver at the top of the screen is looking in as well. So a lot of times you have this built in where you can give it to the back or just hit it quick for a swing pass or even run it yourself. Regardless if it was or not, I'm not that smart, but here's here's the first type of screen, just that little swing screen. That was to Wester, right? This ended up being a touchdown, but here's a little swinging screen. I want this to be an extension. Again, you had 15 completions where the ball was thrown behind line of scrimmage against Texas Tech. So I want to at least continue that, at least show Utah that is there. And like I talked about, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you don't need any screens against Utah. I don't know. All right, here's screen number 2. Again, this was probably RPO as well because you have linemen downfield. Or maybe not. They're going for the jailbreak screen, but you did have a pulling guard. Regardless of what it is, it's more of a tunnel-type screen where he catches it and comes up inside his blockers as opposed to outside, and then he gets outside after that little tunnel, right? So 2 different types of screens that they had for touchdowns this past weekend, right? So just to kind of recap it real quick of Shedeur, I'll kind of go back to these deeper plays here. Just to recap it for Shedeur, number 1, I want to attack vertically. I want to attack early, try to get ahead big, try to get ahead early, and just defeat them early. Again, Utah is stout. I'm not discrediting them at all. Like, they're very likely going to keep them in the game. But if I'm Colorado and Shedeur, I want to at least take shots deep and do it early. Key number 2, be prepared for the blitz. Be good against the blitz. Be prepared. They've been blitzing a lot as of late. Will they continue that? I don't know, right? We're just making some video. But if they do continue that, be prepared to throw against the blitz. And the last key that we just talked about, I want to attack the screen game as well. Continue that, have that be an extension of last week against Tech. I like the underneath stuff with the screen. I like the deep stuff with Utah. I think that can maybe confuse the Utah defense. But Colorado fans, y'all know we do these breakdowns on a weekly basis, especially with Shedeur. So Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you want to see from Shedeur? What do you think the route of the game plan for success is against the number one defense in the Big 12? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, please consider subscribing if you haven't. If you're a big quarterback fan, like, share, all that fun stuff. It helps us keep going. And we'll see you next time. Peace.